What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Mainstream Geek Podcast for April 6, 2016. My voice is a little hoarse today. I've been sick all week, but we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about Star Wars news, a little bit of DC news, Spider-Man news, and we're going to close out with talking about a breakdown of this week's season finale of The Walking Dead, if we liked it, if we hated it. I bet you can guess what we did, because it's pretty much the consensus with everybody else in the world. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping to get that out of the way. As always, please make sure that you're subscribed on whatever app you listen to the show on. Let it be Stitcher or let it be the podcasting app on iPhone. If you've already done that, please make sure that you have rated and reviewed the show on that app. We are out of our 8-week grace period where you are easily into the new and noteworthy section of iTunes, and that is the main way that we are found by new people. So your rating and review really helps the show grow, and it's more important now than ever. So please make sure, if you haven't already, rate and review the show on iTunes. Another way that you can help the show out is by visiting mainstreamgeek.com/donate. Leave $1, leave $2, leave $3. If you want to call yourself a subscriber, like you're a super fan, maybe leave us a $12 donation. You can call that all you have to leave for the year. It's a year-long subscription to help the show out that you listen to twice a week and you enjoy so much, obviously, because you keep coming back for more. I think that is everything for housekeeping. So we have Brandon on the show, and we're going to dive right into it. What's going on, everybody? We got Brandon with us.
Hello, hello.
No gap that time. Good work, buddy. I'm always curious, because you're on Skype. Just full disclosure, you're on Skype. You're not in the same room as I am. I'm sure people can tell by your voice and the sound quality.
Right.
But
and there is a little bit of delay at times.
At times, but when I say, usually when you're on the show, and I say, "What's up, Brandon?" There's always a, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, so I'm like, "Oh shit, did I lose connection from him?" Just like for a split second.
Right.
Oh, Brandon, did you get your copy of The Force Awakens today?
I did.
Where'd you end up going? I know that there was some debate for you on where you went.
I think I was always going to go to Target just because it's most convenient for me, and they had the option of the bonus material. But today I was just sort of last minute debating whether it's really worth the extra money for even though it's only $5 extra, the extra money for the extra content, because from what I'm hearing, what they have on this Blu-ray really only scrapes the surface of especially the deleted scenes and the extra features, which, I guess it's not surprising that they're going to have a bigger release, probably actually multiple releases before the trilogy is done.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? There's going to be multiple releases
before
of this
the trilogy is done?
Yeah, I think so. I think there'll be different formats, and there will be maybe a 4K version, and then there will be different, maybe another one when 8 comes out, and then there will be the big box set when all 3 movies come out.
You think he'll do a 9-piece set, though, right?
A 9-piece,
like all 9 of the saga
all 9 movies?
Yeah.
I don't know, because they've been kind of shying away from the prequels, so I don't know if they'll even want to group those together with the Lucas movies.
But they count, though, so I think they should
they
include
do.
them.
They're
canon.
I think
just because they're bad,
too.
That doesn't mean they don't count. Now, when they release that, if they release that a big box set, would you like them to add in the anthology movies or Star Wars story movies? They're calling them now, right?
Right. That's what they're calling them. No, I wouldn't. I want them to be separate, because these are the saga films, and these are the enumerated ones. So no, I want them to be separate.
What did you call them?
Enumerated.
Okay. I thought you said enumerate. I don't know what you said. I thought you said actually. Well, I just watched the movie actually with the Collider.com, the Collider video, I guess, commentary with
commentary?
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Man, I hopped in the treadmill, popped it on. That movie is so good. I haven't watched it really since I'd say mid-January is the last time I went to the theater and saw it.
Right.
And that movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it is, just flew by. on the treadmill to just watching it because I have a little TV screen I set up in front of my treadmill, so I just sit there and watch like Hulu or whatever usually when I'm on the treadmill, but it just 2 hours just flew by like it was nothing. I fucking love The Force Awakens. I said it when it first came out, but I didn't want to say it with any authority. But I think this is my favorite Star Wars movie. I really do.
Wow.
Yeah, I really dig this movie. I'm sweating all over. My headphones are like covered in sweat right now because I literally hopped off the treadmill, walked into the room that I record this in just to record the show. But I think I'm willing to commit that The Force Awakens is my favorite Star Wars movie now.
That's high praise.
Yeah,
Empire to me still hits all the notes for me. So it's almost a flawless movie. Empire.
I agree.
And there are little flaws in Force Awakens, so it can't take the top mantle for me.
I think I just get I don't know, man. When I'm watching it, I feel like I get this childlike joy when I'm watching it, like because I had that commentary going on, right? I wasn't really listening to the movie. It's just I was really just seeing the visuals and hearing the commentary of the guys talking. But it really just like the visuals, just like makes me feel like kind of childlike and like I'm really happy when I'm watching. I'm really into that movie, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back is pretty much a flawless movie, but I don't get the same charge. Maybe because I've seen it for the past 30 years. You know,
sure.
That could be it.
Sure. Also,
but I don't get the same charge out of watching Empire anymore that I get out of watching The Force Awakens.
Yeah. It does have it's chock full of nostalgia, right? Force Awakens, so it does hit all of those moments that remind you of your childhood, and I can see why. It's definitely, I would say it's my second favorite right now for sure.
Have you watched any of the special features? I know you got home from work and you probably had to play with the kids and everything, but have you watched any of the special features on the Blu-ray?
No, yeah, those damn kids. No, I haven't actually even popped it. I've opened the cellophane wrapper. It's the only thing I've done with it. So I'm itching to see some of especially the large documentary that's part of this bonus features. I'm really looking forward to watching that.
Yeah. Well, let's run through some quick news before we get to the main topic of the show, which is going to be breaking down that Walking Dead season finale that everybody has an opinion on this week. So today it came out. I don't know why this is news, but it relates to Star Wars. J.J. Abrams says that the ashes in Kylo Ren's room, you know, where he puts his helmet,
right,
are the ashes of people he killed. Now, I don't know why that's a big deal. I don't know why that was a news story on every website today.
Yeah, it was all over the place today.
Yeah, but it was it was a huge story, and I'm guessing because the DVD came out and people just wanted to talk about Star Wars today, or Blu-ray came out, but I that kind of ruins it for me a little bit, actually, because, like, what does that mean? He takes the bodies of people he kills, takes them back on the ship, cremates them, and puts them in this little container in his bedroom? It just makes him kind of he is like a temperamental child to me, but, like, that just makes him seem kind of like Jeffrey Dahmerish. You know what I'm saying?
I just got sort of an emo vibe from that myself. I don't know. I didn't go Jeffrey Dahmer, but I guess that's more accurate because it's a sadistic type of thing to do.
Would you go Ed Gein? Would you go Ed Gein?
I might, but I don't know. To me, I sort of roll my eyes at it. It's kind of silly. I don't know. For Star Wars, I don't know if we need to go that sort of dark and brooding, quite that brooding. That's
a little dark. That's a little much. There's a big inference to that, to what he has to do to get the ashes of the people he's killed, and it's just Ed Geinish. It's a very Ed Gein thing. Okay, more Star Wars news. Turns out that Jon Stewart, you know how we had all the cameos of stormtroopers in the movies.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig. Who else? Kevin Smith was in a movie. There were all kinds of cameos from celebrities in costumes that you didn't see their faces, but they were in the movie. It turns out that one celebrity turned down a role in the movie as a stormtrooper, and that was Jon Stewart of The Daily Show.
Right.
If you were he's a huge Star Wars fan, apparently.
Yeah.
Would you ever in your life turn down a chance to be a background character in a Star Wars movie?
No way. No way.
I don't get that decision. I don't understand how he could ever think that was an okay thing to do.
I guess if you're Jon Stewart, you've achieved an amazing amount in your life, you probably don't have the same. It doesn't affect you the same that it would you or I, that opportunity, I guess.
He's
interviewed George Lucas. He's interviewed Harrison Ford. He's met these people. I don't know. So, to be part of the movie they create, it might not hold the same amount of joy for him anymore.
I guess also he did, now that I'm thinking about it, and as you're saying that, I am thinking back to why he wanted to quit The Daily Show, and it was to spend more time with his kids and open that animal sanctuary and kind of have a more private life. So maybe when this was filming, it was right around the time that he quit, right?
Right,
so
right.
Maybe he was like, okay, I'm taking a step back, and if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do this, take a step back out of the limelight, I got to do it all the way right now, just for a bit at least.
Yeah, I could see that. Although probably wouldn't. I mean, Daniel Craig was probably on set a couple of days, wouldn't you say?
No, they actually covered that in the commentary I just watched, actually. Daniel
really?
Craig, actually, when they were filming Star Wars, happened to be in London to film... He
was filming...
To film...
007.
Yeah, what's the new one called? Skyfall? No, that's...
Rogue something.
Yeah, I never saw it.
No, that was Mission Impossible. Skyfall, that was it, yeah.
I don't think that's the right one. Oh, Spectre. Spectre's the newest one.
Spectre.
That's it. Yeah. But he was there, and he knows J.J. Abrams, and he said, hey, would you mind if I came on set and did something? And they dressed up as a stormtrooper, apparently. According to the Collider commentary for The Force Awakens, that's what I just learned. But...
Yeah, I mean, he was... I guess my point is, he was only there
an afternoon. Yeah, an afternoon.
So Jon Stewart could have worked it into his schedule.
Yeah.
Totally. Kid's got a nap at some point, right?
Yeah. Okay, Brandon, there's one more piece of Star Wars news we had on our list, working down the whole thing. Star Wars Rebels into the third season. You sent me this story. Can you walk me through this one?
Yes. Okay, so it's a rumor. Let's point that out first. So it's not substantiated, but it is reported by a couple of sources that the Star Wars Rebels, the current cartoon that's going on right now that just ended the second season, is going to end completely after the third season, and that they're going to be replaced. It's going to be replaced by a new animated series using most of the same people that are making Star Wars Rebels right now. And that the final season of Rebels will be used to sort of set up the events that happen in Rogue One.
Wait. So when would the third season of Rebels be on air?
That would be this fall, I suppose.
Okay, so it's going to be like 12 episodes leading up to December, and then... Right. Okay, gotcha.
Right. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. I know you haven't seen Rebels, have you?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Okay.
You told me to watch it, and I binged watched the first season, started watching the second season, but then I realized, I really enjoyed it more when I was binging it. So I was actually waiting till it was all done. And
gotcha.
It just ended, right? So
yes.
I guess I could watch it now.
Right. It makes sense for me if you think about it as far as acts. The first act would be the first season. You introduce the characters, you lead them up to a point, and then the second season was sort of more focused on their backstory. You learned more about the characters, and then leading up to a big event that's like a big life-changing, universe-changing event that happens at the end of the second season. So it makes sense if they would just wrap it up in the third season, and I like that idea. I think it keeps Star Wars fresh. They can start a new animated series with focusing on new characters or a new era or a new time. So I would be all for it. I mean, I enjoy Rebels. Second season was sort of hit or miss. The finale was pretty good, but so I'm all for this idea.
Now, you watched the Clone Wars also, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was like 5 or 6 seasons, wasn't it?
Yes, 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix, and on your advice, I started watching the first season, but man, it wasn't like it was a bad story. It was just, well, I was kind of bored by the story. Yeah, to be honest, I was, but it also I didn't care for the character design in that show.
The Clone Wars is very, what's the best way to describe it? It's also hit or miss, and it you know, you got to remember when they started that first season, this was kind of the whole computer generated animation was a newer thing. Mm-hmm. And so they did not have it right perfected by the first season. If you watch, you know, especially like third, fourth, fifth season, sixth season, they have that animation down perfectly, and it's very fragmented. You're not always following Anakin and Obi-Wan. You're not always following the Jedi. Sometimes they would do one-shot episodes focusing on random characters. Sometimes they would do arcs focused on the bounty hunters. Sometimes they would do arcs focused on Darth Maul when he came back, where those were like the main characters you were following. So it wasn't a linear story. So once they started getting into the arcs, where they would have 3 or 4 episodes that were all one arc, then it started getting really good. It was very cinematic and you know, in depth, and the Clone Wars got really good. But it is one of those shows, like if you just watch the first season, there's a lot of filler to get through, where they just have a sort of a battle of the week, you know, the Clone Wars battle of the week, and General Grievous goes down again, and they get away again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That you just tickled my funny bone a little bit, actually. You know what would be a great Star Wars animated series is like there's a book out that I read, I don't know, 20 years ago. Probably 20 years ago, called Tales of the Bounty Hunters.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be an awesome little animated series for Disney to make. I'd watch the shit out of that.
You focus on the bounty hunters.
Yeah. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, they do some in the Clone Wars. They did some arcs focused around Boba Fett, and he when he was still a younger kid, so like teenage Boba Fett after the events of the Attack of the Clones, and he teams up with some other bounty hunters. And then there's another episode's arc where the Trandoshans, which is what Bosk is.
Oh, that's my next question for you. Did they ever focus on Bosk? Because Bosk is always a character I always want to know more about.
Yeah, they have an arc where the Trandoshans are hunters, and Ahsoka, which is, you know, Anakin's Padawan.
Yeah.
She gets dropped off on this planet, and she has to. The Trandoshans are chasing after her and hunting her.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so it does get very cool. The Clone Wars. That's a recommendation for you, but you do have to kind of pick the arcs. And George Lucas did this thing, like, because he's crazy. He would do this thing where they would have like a group of episodes that followed a timeline in sequential order, and then he would say, "Hey, what if we told the story of what happened right before that?" And so they would air these episodes, like sometimes 2-3 years later, that preceded episodes that they had aired like season 1.
Oh wow!
And it was really hard to follow. And actually, if you go to StarWars.com, they have
kids?
a list. Yeah, supposedly, yeah. If you go to StarWars.com, they have a list of the order you're supposed to watch the episodes, and it jumps all around. It's crazy. But when it came on Netflix, that's exactly what I did. I rewatched them in the order that they recommended, and it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the Star Wars news we have. I gotta say, though, just one last thing about Star Wars. After watching the movie just now, I am so excited for the hype train to start kicking into gear for Rogue One. Because that means there's just going to be a shitload of news about it that we can sit on the show and talk about. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, me too. And
that's a geeky thing to say.
It's time. I mean, the Blu-ray's out, so it's time that we're should be starting to get something soon.
Yeah, it's December, so I would say, I don't know, what do you think? Like Comic-Con? Like, is that an appropriate time? I mean, like, they started doing The Force Awakens like a year before the movie came out. So
yeah, they had Black Friday. They had the first trailer.
Yeah, so I would imagine any time now, like a month or two, we're going to start getting stuff like trailers, footage from the movie, at least. Or pictures from the set.
Star Wars Celebration is in July 15th through the 17th.
Well, May the 4th is in 4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I thought of the other day? I started thinking about how Episode 8 was supposed to be in March next year. And the other day I was like, oh, god damn it, we'd only be a year away right now if they didn't change that. And I got so depressed for a minute, but then I was like, it's okay, Jason, you can calm down.
It was never going to be in March, was it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be March 23rd-ish, sometime around there.
I thought it was May 2017.
Are you sure about that?
I think so, because
maybe you're right. You're right.
That's what traditional Star Wars movies were. You're right. May.
But still.
But anyway, yeah.
Okay, let's jump into some other news before we get to The Walking Dead. Batman v Superman's box office drop, Brandon. Now, if you guys didn't listen to our review of Batman v Superman, go back and take a listen to that, and you'll find out what we thought about it. We haven't spent much time on this show talking about it beyond that, because there's not really anything to talk about. It's a terrible movie. It's bad. I've watched it 2.25 times now. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
You watched another quarter time?
I tried. I was like, no, there has to be something that some people are liking about this. So I tried watching it again, and I got about, I wouldn't even say quarter, because it's a long movie, so 20 minutes in, I was like, no, I'm just done. This is a boring movie. It's bad. So I just turned it off. But it dropped worldwide 86% at the box office, domestically 68% at the box office, which is a crazy number to drop. Now, we said during our review that there's no way that this thing is going to hold on to its... it's going to make all of its money that first weekend. And then it's just going to drop off like crazy. And that's exactly what happened. Not that we're box office experts. It's just like we saw the movie. You don't have to be a box office expert to watch that movie. No, it's not going to have legs to go on forever, like Star Wars did.
Right. Is it still number one, though, or did it get knocked off of number one?
It's still, I mean, okay, when I say that it dropped off 68% domestically, it still made enough money to where any normal movie should be proud to make that much money in its second week.
Sure. But when you have the expectations of a blockbuster movie, it's a major disappointment.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this movie, man. It's like they went to Zack Snyder and said, hey, you get to go to the World Series for free. You don't have to really try. All you have to do is kind of put your best foot forward while you're there, and you're going to win. And he fucked that. He fucked this up somehow. I don't know how he fucked it up, but he did.
I keep thinking, like, what if I just don't get it? What if he went up to further your analogy, he went up to bat, he swung and he missed. I mean, and there's something you can respect about that, right?
Right.
But it's hard for me to even.
It's not that
give him that much credit,
because you have to look at the movie as a whole, and when you watch it as a whole, it's like they're just leaving stuff. Like if you watch the movie, it's not so much that you can't see that they were trying to do something. It's that they don't bother explaining so much that you spend like minutes of time while watching the movie wondering what the fuck was that, and then you're like, oh, what just happened? Well, I was wondering what that was. It's just so. It's like they didn't give a shit if you understood what you're watching. But that's the thing about a movie. You're supposed to understand what you're watching to enjoy it. You're being told a story. So it's just... I am glad to see that it did bad, because it deserved to do bad. I'm not glad to see that a superhero movie did bad, because I wanted this movie to do great. I wanted this movie to be awesome. It just... It didn't. And I'm glad to see that the general public kind of agrees. And they're voting with their dollars in a way. Because now to continue on with these movies, they're going to have to... I guarantee Warner Brothers is going to be like, we're going to step in and make sure you guys are making good movies. Now, that could be a bad thing in itself. Studios kind of ruin movies sometimes, like Fantastic Four.
Right.
So...
Right. That's usually not a good thing.
Yeah, well, for instance, their Suicide Squad is doing reshoots to make it more funny. And I doubt that that's because reshoots with stars like Will Smith and Margot Robbie and everybody that's famous in the movie, you had to schedule those a long time ago, and Batman v Superman only came out a week and a half ago. So they had to schedule these reshoots a while ago. But to make it more funny, that has to be in direct response to how everybody complained about how this movie was so dour and so downbeat, and there was no joy in the movie at all.
Right.
So it's already affecting the studio, what the studio is saying we have to do with this movie. Which I didn't even think.
Totally.
I didn't even think the trailers for Suicide Squad looked like they were unfunny. I thought this was supposed to be like their Deadpool,
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that it already had that sort of tone to me based on the trailers, was that it was going to be a more upbeat superhero, not upbeat, but comical, had comical elements in it. But So if that's true, then that's worrisome, I guess. If you're reshooting to add a different element in the movie that wasn't already present, then it's going to end up being shoehorned in.
Well, rumor on the back set is that that the jokes that you see in the trailer, those are pretty much the jokes. Like that's all you're getting joke wise in the movie. So, I mean, if that's the case, then that's the case. But yeah, you're right. Shoehorning jokes in to make it something that it wasn't originally meant to be. Just let it be what it is. And if it's good, then it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. You're just going to make it worse by making it something that it's not meant to be. So, and David Ayer is a good director. Zack Snyder is not a good director. He made a few cool movies, but he's not a good storyteller. And David Ayer is you know who David Ayer is, right? He made Fury.
No. Didn't see Fury.
Okay. Well, he writes good stories. So, I would imagine that the story was at least probably pretty strong. Like, Zack Snyder is not a great storyteller. Also, there were rumors on Batman v Superman where Ben Affleck was meddling with the script as the movie was going. So there's all kinds of contributing elements that seem to come up on Batman v Superman. But I think the studio is probably getting scared now, and that it's going to affect the outcome of Suicide Squad, which I think Suicide Squad looks fun at least. Like I'm actually interested. Yeah. Even though Batman v Superman was bad, they still have me for Suicide Squad. Now, they don't have me for Wonder Woman. They don't have me for Flash. They do not have me for Aquaman. But for Suicide Squad, they at least had me for that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one would be fun. I think it looks fun.
Yeah. All right. One last bit of news before Walking Dead. The countdown begins, Brendan. Spider-Man. There's a rumor out there. Well, not a rumor. It's a fact, but whether or not it is a fact of what it's implicating is the rumor. That the name of the movie is going to be one of four things based upon URLs bought by Sony, and they have redirecting to their site now. There's going to be, it could be Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Coming of Age, Spider-Man Greatness Awaits, and Spider-Man Suspended. What are your thoughts on these titles?
Well, they all are not good.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the best one is the first one, Homecoming, just because it has that double entendre, because this is the first Spider-Man movie with under Marvel Studios. So, you're coming home, and wasn't there a Spider-Man comic arc called Homecoming?
Yeah, but I read up on
so it makes sense from that, but it's also not a great title.
The Spider-Man Homecoming story arc, though, was back in the I read up on it today after I saw these titles. And I was like, well, there's a Spider-Man Homecoming title, our story arc, and that story arc was about Spider-Man coming home from the original Secret Wars back in 1984. So, it wouldn't really fit if they made it that story arc. So it's not going to be that story arc. It's because
they could lift the title and not have anything to do with that arc, though. I suppose.
But, I'm not a fan of when they do that. Like, okay, so World War Z, the movie, they used that title, but they pretty much didn't make the book, and the book is an amazing piece of work.
Yeah,
and the fact that not that the movie was bad. It's just that it wasn't World War Z, but the fact that the movie World War Z exists means that that there can never be a movie World War Z that I want, which is that story of that was in the book. So by making Spider-Man Homecoming and having it be about Peter Parker, because this kid's in high school, that's the new spin on Spider-Man and everything. That there, and I've never read the Homecoming story arc in the comic books, so I'm not going to get high and mighty about that. What I'm saying is they're wasting a perfectly good story that they could use later on. Say that there is a Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Secret Wars later, which would be sweet. They can't really use the Homecoming thing for Spider-Man then. That's my only gripe with that. It's not even really a gripe, it's just my personal preference is I wish if they used titles of something that they would follow the storyline or not follow, or just have a different title.
Right, I get you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. As even that as a title is not great, and so I don't. What do you think? What's your favorite one, or do you even have a favorite one? Are they all bad to you too?
I'm going to agree with you. Homecoming's probably the best one, but that's just default.
Right.
Homecoming, I get it. He's coming back to Marvel. I'm guessing there's also going to be since it's a high school kid, that it's going to be based around a homecoming dance.
Yeah,
which makes me kind of sick that's a Spider-Man movie. Coming of age, right. It's a thing of it's another kind of double entendre because it's Spider-Man's like coming out party for the new guy, but it's also Spider-Man, a young kid. He's coming of age. Right. Greatness Awaits also implies that a young kid is it's all and then suspended. So like I'm guessing that's going to have a double entendre because he hangs by ropes.
In school.
Yeah, but he's also in school. So I don't want, and I know it's supposed to be like how Marvel does this thing where they do genre movies. So like Winter Soldier was like a political thriller, and Guardians of the Galaxy was a space opera, and Ant-Man was a heist movie.
Right.
And they said that when they were writing, when they announced the writers of this and the director, that they wanted to make this one kind of into a John Hughes style movie.
Okay.
So the titles fit with that. It's just I'm not a fan of the titles. I don't have any problem with the John Hughes style because I think Marvel does great when they do these genre movies. I just wish they would call it something like, okay, they did Spider-Man for the Sam Raimi movies, and then they did the Amazing Spider-Man for the Mark Webb movies. I wish they would call this one like Spectacular Spider-Man or something like that.
I agree. It's very risky to if you're bringing Spider-Man back and you're immediately going to do a genre film, a John Hughes genre film style film. I think that's really, albeit for me to criticize Marvel because they've done everything correct so far, but to me that seems really risky. You're bringing back a main character and you're going to do sort of a goofy, romantic comedy with him.
Well, I don't know if it's romantic comedy. I know
but if it's a John Hughes style, then it's going to be a high school maybe style comedy.
Well, wasn't Ferris Bueller John Hughes?
Yeah, but that's a comedy.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't know. Do you want to sort of not dumb it down, but do you want to sort of pigeonhole your Spider-Man into this sort of particular genre right from the start? Don't you want to kind of introduce him and have an epic story to start it off?
I actually don't have a problem with it because Spider-Man's kind of a funny character anyways. He's a jokey character, so I actually don't have a problem with the comedy aspect of it. I agree with I think they should leave the relationship stuff behind because that got really heavy in these most recent 2 movies, and it kind of got heavy in the original 3 movies. But I don't mind the jokiness. I'm with you on the romantic comedy aspect of it, but the jokiness I don't mind.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll have to.
We'll find out May 6th how Spider-Man's going to be.
Well, yeah, and who knows? The tone of the Civil War is going to be a lot different than the tone of the Spider-Man movie, presumably. So I'll have to wait and see what kind of tone they're going for with that before I reserve final judgment, I suppose. But I don't know. To me, it would be really, and you make if you take a risk and it's if it pays off, then it's great for you. If it's but there's always a risk involved.
The thing with Marvel movies is I don't think that they do anything without making sure it's going to work before they do it because even their worst movies. Like the Thor movies, they're my least favorite of all the Marvel movies. I get into those the least, but even they're not bad. They're not like if they're on and I stumble across them, I don't mind watching them. Mm-hmm. But
it's also one of those. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
It's also one of those things that we have had this sort of. They're genre movies, but it's the same sort of style of movie for a while now with Marvel. So if they do something different, and they've done something different with Deadpool,
not Marvel though. Sorry to interrupt, but not Marvel.
You're right. Yeah. That's not a Marvel movie, Marvel Studios movie. But if they do with Spider-Man, if they do something different, that might be actually smart on their end, so that it doesn't dilute their product. Because after a while, it's all going to start blending together.
I just wonder how
So-
much say, because it's still Sony. So
Right.
Marvel just is allowing their characters to be mixed in with Spider-Man movies, and so they can use Spider-Man in their movies. So it's like just co-mingling. It's still Sony making these movies. I just wonder how much say, if Sony in there had enough good sense to say, hey, we're obviously fucking this up. Let's let you take the reins. We'll make the profits, and you get to use the character. Or if it's going to be Sony saying, no, we want to make sure we're getting the say in this movie. I hope Sony has a good sense to let Marvel be the one at the reins, just making a Marvel movie under the Sony banner. That's just what I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. Before we get into The Walking Dead, which we're there now, I got a question for you.
Yes.
You're a bearded guy, right?
Yes.
But you still shave your neck and everything, correct? You still use a razor.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Do you use any kind of of the Dollar Shave Club or anything like that?
No, I have not joined that revolution yet.
Well, Brandon, let me tell you about Dollar Shave Club. I use it. It comes to my house every other month. That's right, you can do it every other month. I'm not a guy who has to shave every day. This is my shaving schedule. Monday, Wednesday, and then I let it ride Thursday through Sunday.
You are a rebel, sir.
Well, because I don't grow it fast enough to make it matter, and by the time Friday rolls around, I have a bit of shag. It's casual Friday at the office. So I don't bother shaving on Thursday. So razors last me a while. So what Dollar Shave Club does is they let you do alternating months if you want. But if you're a hairy guy, you can do every month. You can do twice a month if you want, if you're a super hairy guy. All of this I get, Brandon, get this, $6 a shipment. And that's not for...
Get out of town.
No, I will not get out of town because they wouldn't be able to ship it to me then. It comes right to my house, really nice blades, really nice handle, and I have a beautiful face because of it. So if you go to mainstreamgeek.com/shave, I'm such a good huckster, mainstreamgeek.com/shave, and sign up for the service. It helps the show out, it helps your face out, helps you get the ladies, and it helps you keep your gruff exterior as nice as you choose to make it. Check out mainstreamgeek.com/shave. Brandon, let's get into The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Break it down for me, buddy.
All right, let me pull up my recap here. Since I had no time to prepare that whole commercial, I could have pulled this up.
I should also clarify to the audience that I don't get any money off that. It just they give me a rebate back on the stuff they send me. I don't make any money off of it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, Walking Dead this week was, the whole A plot can be summarized. There's a plot with that Rick wants to get Maggie to the hilltop for treatment, but the Saviors have set up various roadblocks everywhere to prevent them from getting there. And then you have the B plot, which is, what's his name?
Morgan.
Morgan is
Carol.
trying to find Carol. Carol's on the loose, and so those are the two plots going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we start off. The Saviors have this guy captive, and are we supposed to know who or care who that is? I don't know. He says he's from the library.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. What they do with that scene is they're showing the people from where does Rick's group live? Alexandria, getting ready to take Maggie away, but they're also intercutting that with this guy running from the Saviors in the woods. But it's just really, it kind of made me feel like it took me out of everything every few seconds because it didn't really explain who he was, just a guy running away. Now I know they were probably trying to show that these guys are ruthless and that they kind of wanted to set up who, because he's an important part later on. They want to set up how this guy came to be captive. But they should have done the storytelling a little better, I think.
Well, I feel like that maybe they should have used somebody from Alexandria that we knew, because the whole time I'm like, who the hell's that? And it took me out of it too. I didn't care about him.
Yeah.
And this is a show that is very violent, is very, it's very careless with lives, and so I feel like they do have to make you care about who this captive is. Just having a captive isn't enough.
You know, I didn't even think about that, Brandon, but you're absolutely right. Why didn't they just use that first roadblock, for instance? Should we wait to get to this, or should we talk about this now, the roadblock? Because not really much that happens in between what we're talking about now and the first roadblock.
I just summarized it, the whole episode.
So that first roadblock, they have the guy they capture laying on the ground. He's still alive.
Right, yeah.
But you're right. What if they would have used, say, Daryl or Michonne or Rosita or Glenn there, then this running around shit wouldn't have happened. If they would have, because at one point in these, there's several roadblocks throughout the episode, and at the penultimate roadblock, there's 30 guys there, and they're standing on top of cars and everything. And they have guns and they're shooting into the air. If they just had maybe even all 4 of the people out there in the road, then it would have been game over. They wouldn't have had done this cat and mouse game all day long, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or even if they didn't have one of the main characters, even if they had like Spencer or somebody like that, then you would have had more emotional reaction to the saviors.
Yeah,
I think
Spencer was still back in Alexandria.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just if they rewrote the episode.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you brought up how Spencer's back in Alexandria again, just like last week. Everyone worth their salt decides to leave with Rick.
Oh no, Brandon, not everyone. Literally everyone. It's not like last week there were like 4 people here, 2 people here. This is literally everyone who could even put up a fight against anything in this town, besides the priest, who I always forget his name, but he's the only person. Gabriel. And Spencer, I guess, but he's also a pussy.
Yeah, and the Enid, whatever her name is.
Well, she's locked in the closet.
She's stuck in a closet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Gabriel's not... He can't... I mean, we're led to believe that he can hold his own now, but I'm not buying it. They have him in charge, and all of a sudden he's confident. I mean, he has a plan that Rick has put into place. They have guns at all the checkpoints. They have a rendezvous point. But he's not a badass. He's not going to protect Alexandria.
Also, at one point, Enid says to Carl that we've all been trained. We can protect the city ourselves now. But how? It's only been a matter of a couple weeks since they decided to start training everybody to make everybody into hard asses. So it's like, yeah, maybe you know more than you knew a couple weeks ago, but no, these people in this town have no idea. As it's been shown several times now, they have no idea what it's like outside these walls when you come up against something hard. And I don't know, man.
Plus Spencer is like, his idea is to negotiate with him. And like, well, maybe we could still make a deal. And
I don't think that was what he was saying. I think he was asking Rick, if they happen to show up before you get back, do you think what do you want me to tell them if there's still a chance to negotiate?
No, I took it to believe that he does not want to fight, and he wants to make a deal with them if they come.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I misunderstood then. But yeah. So there's all kinds of. Like it's like the past 3 weeks of fuck ups where people all go out at one time and then something bad happens.
Yeah.
Has taught nothing to these people, and it's not even 3 weeks to them. It's like a day and a half to them. So it's all like they don't learn lessons, even those lessons are currently happening. So they all leave the town in this Winnebago and they're just driving endlessly. And I understand that. All of the roadblocks were set up to like make the audience feel kind of like the situation is hopeless, like there's nowhere to go,
Right.
And I get that, but they drove it in for so long that I kind of started to be like, okay, I don't fucking care anymore, man.
Well, I actually thought the roadblocks and the interesting ways that they kept getting more elaborate I thought that was compelling. I thought it did do a good job of showing sort of how they are they have everything figured out. The saviors do. They have everything thought about. But to your point, by about the third roadblock, I looked at the clock and I realized how much time was left in the episode. I started getting really pissed off.
Yeah,
because I knew exactly where it was going.
Because the whole point of this season has been to get to Negan, right?
Yes.
And when you get to that, like to the logs, and where that guy was hung, especially, I was like, oh, so they literally are going to wait to the very last second to show us Negan. Like, Game of Thrones. This is what Game of Thrones and all good shows do so well, and this one does not do well. They have an arc for a season, and in that season, they have what is called a penultimate episode. And in that penultimate episode, the big thing happens, and then they reset the chess pieces on the board with the final episode of the season, you know?
Right.
Right.
You see how everyone reacts to that event and what's going to lead to the next thing.
Yeah, and in that last and by doing so, they wrap up everything that was set up, and they close it out all within that season, but they still continue the story going on. It's just they introduce new problems, but they close out a story. And Walking Dead never closes out a story. Even, like, I guarantee, the beginning of next season, that won't close out anything. It'll just go right back to the hokey pokey shit they've been doing this entire time, man. Well, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just so stupid. Like, they were doing so well for 4 or 5 episodes there.
Yeah.
And I think even like 6 episodes in, 7 episodes in, I was like, okay, they deserve a slowdown. They deserve a breather. But like, when you pull something like they did in this episode, and we're going to get to that in a minute, that's just a little much for me. It's not fair to the people that you have as fans to pull this kind of shit.
Well, and maybe we shouldn't be so upset because it's what they do. I mean, this is their MO, right?
You're right, but that's like saying, and this is going to be an exaggeration, but I like to exaggerate. That's like saying, well, I know he beats me, so I shouldn't be upset when he does. You know?
I know. You're right. And, Scott Gimple on Talking Dead, and we might be jumping ahead a little bit here, but, he says whatever the thing that happened at the end of the episode is the beginning of another story. And so they didn't want to show that because that would be the beginning of the next story.
Oh, that's interesting that he said that, because you know what else he said? I think it was yesterday. What's today? Today's Tuesday, yeah. So yesterday I read an article with an interview with him, and the reason they didn't show what happened at the end of the episode, and we'll get to that in a minute, is because they didn't actually shoot it yet. And I think that's such a cop-out, because that gives them more time to decide who they're going to kill.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there, because I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Let's see. So we have, they come to the first roadblock. I'm just going to go through the A plot.
Okay.
And then the B plot separate. They come to the first roadblock. There's a few cars and saviors there, plus the captive. The saviors say, give me all your shit, and we're going to kill one of yours. Just because. And Rick says, no deal. In fact, give me all your shit. And so they turn around. Abraham and Sasha start discussing the possibility of having a child.
Yeah, what is his deal? They've been dating for a day.
Yeah.
Are they even dating? Like, it's just a thing that he has a crush on her.
I think maybe things might be sped up in the zombie apocalypse and relationships.
You might not have time.
I mean, I can see that. You don't know if you're going to live through the day, so I could see where you might develop a bond early, but that did seem a little soon to be discussing children.
How you might build a bond, but not why you'd bring another child into this horrible, horrible world that you're literally on the verge of going into war in, So it just seems silly to me.
Yeah. So they go to the second roadblock. There's more saviors, more guns, and they just turn around and leave. The third roadblock they get to, there's a chain of walkers. And one of the walkers has one of Michonne's braids attached to it, which I thought was pretty cool. And Daryl's arrow is in another walker. And so I guess this was just a setup for them to show themselves, but they didn't. It was just an elaborate game they were playing at that point, the Saviors, because they shoot at their feet once they get up to try to free the roadblock.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah, I guess that was just...
And Rick's line of reasoning during this was that they shot at our feet, so they wanted us to come this way. I don't know what he's gathering that from. I mean, to me, that would mean that he wants us to turn around. Right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. So, yeah. So, the fourth roadblock, is when there's a serious group of saviors there. That was the big one. Then they just turn around again. The fifth roadblock, that was when they had that pile of lumber and that they lit on fire, and they hung the captive from an overpass.
Yeah.
At that point, they finally realized that they were going to have all the routes closed, which they should have realized 3 roadblocks ago. And Eugene has the idea to go by foot. That they were going to put Maggie on a stretcher or whatever they had her on, and they were going to deliver her to the hilltop by foot. And Eugene was going to drive the truck around all the different routes and continue to play their game.
Which actually wasn't a bad idea. I thought.
I thought that was a good idea. Before he leaves, he gives Rick the recipe to make bullets.
I thought that was a nice touch. Also, I have to say that I did think that. Yeah, I
agree, and also it's a good idea back at Alexandria that they set up a rendezvous point when Gabriel mentions that to Rick before they leave.
Yeah,
because that was one thing they did not have at the prison, and once things went to shit at the prison, no one knew where to meet up. And I remember at the time thinking that was just and it could have still been lazy writing, but because I remember at the time that was a criticism. Like, well, didn't they have a rendezvous point? That's like rule number 1 of survival.
Yeah, you go to Kings Island with your kids. Group. You say if we get separated, meet us here at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool that they addressed their own ineptness there, or they made up for it within the universe. So
yeah.
So they start going by foot, and they don't last very long. There's that cool zombie there though that had a tree trunk stuck in its gut.
Yeah, and Carl sliced his head off.
Yeah, Carl sliced his head off. That was cool. And so they start walking in the dark.
When you see zombies, do you ever wonder in the show when they have a cool way that a zombie's dead? Like, how did that zombie end up with a tree trunk through its chest? And how did he end up walking around with that? Whenever they have a cool zombie design, I just kind of wish there was a separate show that wasn't Fear the Walking Dead that just showed cool zombie deaths and how they're walking around these cool ways.
Yeah, that would be a cool show, or like a little shorts or something.
Yeah,
yeah, kind of like what was that cartoon? That fucked up cartoon. When we were in college. Happy Tree Friends. Did you ever see that cartoon?
Right. Where
they had animals that would die in horrific ways. So it'd be something sort of like that, but with zombies. So they don't get very far, and then they start hearing whistles, and then they're captured.
The whistles, man! I have to say, I loved the whistle touch. That was creepy. I was like, ooh. Every time they did it, I was like, ooh, that's a cool little atmosphere they're adding to this.
Yeah, especially when all of them started whistling. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time. So then we see that the little pseudo-artistic thing that they were flashing throughout the episode of a dark room with lights shining through was where Daryl, Michonne, Glenn, and Rosita were kept captive.
What are you referring to?
So the very beginning of the episode, and then throughout the episode, it would be like a dark room, and you would hear voices, and there were like little circles of light that were shining through like the container.
Oh man, you know what? I didn't even notice that.
No, they said. I'm sure. Maybe I'm just not describing it well. They kept doing it, and throughout the episode.
I'm saying I didn't notice that. I didn't notice anything that would point to Glenn or where they would be. So it's just something I must have not picked up on.
Oh
yeah.
So they showed that again, and then they opened the crate or whatever, and that's where they all were.
Yeah, I saw that, but I just throughout the episode. Yeah.
So Negan shows up. He's in the trailer or the Winnebago that they must have captured Eugene at some point. And says that someone has to die. He wants them to work for him, and they can't work together if they're all dead. So he says someone has to die, but he's not going to kill everyone. I thought Negan was pretty cool. I liked his actor's portrayal of him.
I agree.
But,
he was great.
Yeah, but the impact of his appearance was lost on me. Was greatly diminished by that point because I was so pissed off that they were taking this long to get to here.
Yeah.
And also the scene was a little too long. He was walking around and around, and who's it gonna be, and who am I gonna pick, and I can't figure it out. So that was annoying to me too. But I thought his
I have to disagree with you there. I actually really dug that performance. I dug the monologue. I caught myself thinking at one point, like I was leaning forward while watching it, and I could feel like anxious while I was watching it. So I actually, that scene actually drew me in, and that's me who I find a problem with everything. I didn't find a problem with this at all. Like I was way into that scene. I was drawn in completely.
Yeah, well, that's and it could have just been my annoyance at the episode that flowered my opinion at that moment. I've only seen it once, so maybe let's see it again. It would be different. But so we'll get back to the very end. We'll talk about that last. But I just want to go over the B plot quickly before we go back to the very end. Morgan finds a horse. He finds Carol. He patches Carol up, but Carol sneaks away. And then she finds a walker, and she mangles this walker's face as she's trying to kill it, which is pretty sweet, ripping her entire skin off of this zombie's face, which I thought was pretty sweet.
Why didn't she just stab it with that knife?
Well, she couldn't get the right angle, and she's hurt at this point too. Remember, so she's not 100%.
Did you notice? By the way, the guy, the zombie that was hanging in that tower that Morgan went to kill. I was like, well, why would somebody, if they made, because it was a pretty fresh zombie. At first, I thought, well, why would they hang themselves this late into the zombie apocalypse? If they made it this far, why kill yourself? Then I realized, they're at a library, and that guy in, we find out later that they were from the library, and they were at a library when that happened. So it must have been Negan's crew that hung that guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So Carol meets up with another group of the Saviors, the one that got away when she shot the rest of the groups out of that pickup truck.
Oh yeah.
She fights with him. He shoots her a few times. Says that she needs to suffer before he kills her. She's very suicidal at this point, from what I gathered. I mean, she doesn't care if she's dead. He asked her if she thinks she's suffered enough, and she said no.
She said probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Right. So I mean, it's obvious that her plan, I guess, when she left Alexandria was to just die. I mean, we were questioning that last week. Why is she leaving? Where's she going? So I guess that was her plan. She was just she didn't care if she died. But Morgan comes back and kills the Savior.
5 shots.
Which is a surprise. Yeah. He unloaded emptied his gun into him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was surprising. And then these men in armor show up and say, "Hey, what's going on here?"
It's hockey armor.
Is it really?
It's like hockey padding. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it looked like hockey padding to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't get this from watching it, but I was listening to a podcast, and I guess the guy from last week that Rick was trying to kill, that was looking for a horse.
Yeah, at that barn. Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been his horse, A, B, and he was part of that group because he had the same stuff on.
Well, Morgan said to the guy, "I found your horse." And,
okay.
Yeah, so Morgan said that to him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought it was because the other guy had a horse. I didn't put that together with last week. But do you know who those people are going to end up being?
Okay, so I do. I think I do. From the comic books, there's a place where there's a guy who has a tiger. It's called the Kingdom, right? The
Kingdom, yep.
What's the guy with the tiger's name?
Ezekiel,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's who I assume they are. I gotta say, the character design kind of drew me. I was like, what? Because it looked like something out of a sci-fi show, and the Sci-Fi Channel show. You know how the costumes looked a little cheesy to me.
Right.
So I was kind of like, I don't know, the focusing on that, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. Not that it was a bad thing. It was just like, what the fuck? Because I'm used to seeing people in these tattered clothes, and these guys walk up in hockey padding, matching hockey padding.
I'm glad they didn't go with the vernacular that they did in the comic book, though, because
we haven't
then
met Ezekiel yet.
true. But I think everyone from the kingdom was talking that way.
Oh, were they?
Because he mentioned, Ezekiel mentioned at one point that he puts that on for them because they all enjoy having that sense of royalty or whatever. And so, yeah, so it would have totally taken you out of it if they were speaking like old English, like ye,
Now,
what ye have here is, I don't know.
Now, over under, what's the likelihood that Ezekiel will have a tiger? Because we know that AMC isn't very forthcoming with a budget on this, and a tiger isn't something that you really have a trained animal on set for. I'm actually not sure what would be more expensive, a real tiger or a CGI tiger that's going to look believable. So, do you think there will be a tiger, or how do you think they're going to go about doing that? Because that's a big part of the character, but it's also kind of that's getting a little weird. That's getting to the land of the lost kind of vibe at that point.
That's right. That might be the jump the shark moment, especially because it'd be really hard to pull off, especially if they did the CGI tiger on a TV show like that. So I don't think the chances are good we're going to get a tiger.
But at that point, why bother doing it? Because they do change a lot in the show. So what would be the point? And why do the kingdom and why do Ezekiel? Why not make up something else to go?
Well, because I think they probably want Ezekiel, and they want that storyline where they go to war with Negan and they use the kingdom as part of that war.
But the tiger's a big part of the war.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
is.
He mauls people. He fights in the war.
Uh-huh.
It works in a comic book, but I don't think in a real life situation like where you're watching actors on a screen, it translates. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when he was brought into the comic book, there was questions about whether they would ever bring that into the show because the show had started by that point.
Yeah, even the comic book though. I mean, you got used to it real quick because it is a comic book, but it was just a little weird. It was a little off-putting at first, but then it didn't become like it wasn't like a huge thing. It was just part of the character of Ezekiel. And for those who haven't read the comic book, I'm sorry that this is probably a little out there for you, but. Trust me, I think it'd be a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Negan, the main point of contention here with the episode. So to me, this is a giant cop out, and like we said, maybe we shouldn't be so upset because Walking Dead has done this in the past, but it's different on this one because. The cliffhangers we've had in the past have never been something so certain, and this one is certain. Someone's dead.
Yeah,
there's no way that anyone survived that bat to the head so many times, and they make it certain the way they shot the last scene there that person, whoever it was, is dead.
Yeah,
it's to me it smells to me of all an effort to just keep people interested during the off season.
Smells to me like they didn't like how the premiere of this season was kind of a low premiere for Walking Dead, and they want to make sure people are back next season. But it's having a backlash.
They're talking about it all of the off season, and there's a hashtag. I mean,
yeah,
there's
a backlash though. People are pissed about it. Like they're actually mad about it, and they should be because you know what after I watched it and I was thinking about what I was going to say on the show about today, I was like, what is the worst thing that they could do with this? And do you remember like in the 4th season, I think it was, where we went on the long break and we came back and it started up with a recap of where the governor had been since he was defeated at the prison that time. And it was like 3 episodes and it didn't progress the story at all. What if they come back next season, the first 2 or 3 episodes of next season are just letting us know who the saviors are and how we got to that point and what led up to that. And we don't find out who died for a while, And
I'm going to stop you because I did hear a quote from I think the executive producer. Not the executive producer. One of the producers, the female one. I can't remember her name, but she said that
sexist.
Well, I know.
I'm just joking.
Well, I can think of Greg Nicotero, but he's the executive producer. But I can't think of the female producer. She said you will find out who died in episode 1 of the next season.
Okay, that's good. Now, let's talk about the episode a little more. But But before we end the show, we should announce a spoiler that I shared with you a little bit ago. And you,
Okay.
So let's go through the rest of your notes there. But I do want to touch on that before we go.
Well, that ends the synopsis. Everything we have now is just us talking about how we hate that last scene.
Okay, so
or hate how the lack of.
Yeah, dive on in, man, and I'll just interject.
Yeah. Yes, I wonder if they're going to use fan reaction to influence who they want to die.
Dude, I had the same
do you think
thought.
they know?
I had the same thought. Like, what if they're on Facebook right now reading through hashtags or
Right.
Twitter? And
Because there is a hashtag. Who I forget. I'm not even going to give the hashtag publicity because that's how much I hate this. But there is an actual hashtag. I saw it on Talking Dead.
yeah, so
It exists.
You're saying, what if they don't know who they're going to kill yet, which they pretty much
Right.
have admitted by the way they've done things. And I think they did know who they wanted to kill, but I think that they left themselves open to be able to change it, because they did say that they haven't filmed that actual scene yet showing who it was. So they have an out.
It's because none of the actors know either.
Right. So they have an out to
Yeah.
change it to whoever they want. So I had the same thought. Are they going to go by fan reaction of who they want to die or who they don't want to die, or if people will be pissed if so-and-so is the one that died? That's...
Which is shitty. I mean, you should just write a story, and that should be it. You shouldn't be influenced by what fans may or may not want.
We'll all live. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
we'll get... And actually, if it's something that we dislike, we might actually like it more. It might be more compelling for us.
Right.
So...
Right.
I just I hope they do not do that. I hated how they had everybody lined up on the ground there. They had Glenn, and then I think it was Rosita and Daryl and Michonne, and then
Maggie.
No, who's the tall guy? Who's the big guy?
Abraham.
Then Maggie, then Rick, then
Eugene.
No, Eugene was after Carl. But there's somebody between Rick and... Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had there's 11 people sitting there. And they did the eeny, meeny, miny, mo game in such a fucked up way. Like, the guy was just walking around picking random people to say eeny, and then he'd walk down to four people and say meanie. And so it implies that he knew who he wanted to kill before he even started the game. He was going to stop where he felt like stopping.
Right.
But 2 seconds prior to that, he had said, I can't decide. So I understand he's fucking with him, and, like, that's the whole thing he's getting at. But it's just like, don't make this into a game for us for us to talk about all summer. Don't make this the water cooler conversation of the summer if you're not going to give us anything to go on, you know? It's a game without rules at that point, and it's silly.
Well, Kirkman said on Talking Dead that there are hints in there.
How so?
As to who died, there are hints in that last scene.
Right, but did he say what the hints were?
No,
did
not.
Well, that does no good. I watched that scene again. I haven't watched the whole episode again, but I did watch the scene again just so I could, because I didn't catch the first watch of it what the order was. So I was thinking, I'll just go through the lineup and see eeny, meeny, miny, mo. But then that's when I caught on that he was just picking random people.
Right.
And so I was, there's no point in this at all. So I don't know, man. It's really frustrating how they just... If you haven't watched the episode yet, I don't know why you're listening to this, because we're spoiling it all for you. Actually, there's nothing to spoil. There's nothing to spoil. So we're not spoiling anything, because we don't even know.
True.
And we watched the episode. It's just really frustrating how they did end it in a way that just to make sure that we come back. And god damn it, man, it's I can't tell what's more frustrating. The idea that Batman and Superman and v Superman was so bad that I'm not going back, or that this is so bad that the way they did this that I'm definitely coming back because I have to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I know.
It's not fan service. It's not good writing. It's not clever. Like, I'm sure there's a way that you could have done this exact same thing and it had it come off clever that I wouldn't be upset about, or nobody would be upset about. Everybody's upset about this. It's not just sort of like, oh man, I can't believe that upset. They're actually mad because Walking Dead has such a bad history of these cliffhangers just to maintain the audience. That's what the anger is about. It's not that that's a cliffhanger. It's the fact that people are mad that they do these cheap ploys to hold us in, and that's what sucks about it, man. Wouldn't you say?
I know. Yeah, I agree completely. And I don't know who do you think it was? I mean, I hate to play into their game, but
do you want me to dive into what I sent you earlier, or do you want me to? Because now
before you go into that, what do you think?
Well,
before you saw what you sent me,
my gut feeling when I first saw it was that it was going to be somebody important, but not somebody so important. It was going to. My first thought was Rosita, and I'll tell you why. So when he's standing there and he's talking to the person who he's about to kill, and it's the first person point of view. Yeah. He's saying, you can blink, you can cry, because I'm sure you're going to do that, but you can't scream. And he says, if they start screaming, and he like points to the right, meaning that it's somebody and he's talking about Carl. He points to the right, and down there is Carl. So it's nobody down there, and he's pointing pretty far away. So I was thinking it was somebody definitely at the left side of the line. I didn't think they're going to... I don't think The Walking Dead has the balls to kill off Glenn.
Really?
I don't think they do. Because, like, that...
I feel like it has to be somebody for them to build this up and to have a whole off-season, and then just to be somebody like Rosita.
Brandon, but you're forgetting it's The Walking Dead. It's not Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? So it's they don't have... If they got rid of Glenn, that's a huge character. And plus, that would also make me mad if it were Glenn, because they've played with us so many times with him dying this season. It's just like, why do all those things? So killing him under that dumpster and the first half of this season was just really to hold us there for 4 episodes while you diddled around, you know?
Right.
So it's just one of those things where I don't think they're going to kill Glenn. I didn't think they were going to kill Glenn, I guess. Or Daryl, possibly. But it's definitely somebody at that left end of the line. That's a total thing because he points down the line to Carl and says, cut his eye out and feed it to his dad. So
it's not going to be Rick, not going to be Carl either.
No, and it's not Aaron, and it's not Maggie. And I guess it could be Eugene. I guess it could be Michonne.
Michonne, right.
Yeah.
I don't think... But why Rosita, though?
Well, because she's a character that's established. We've gotten to know her quite well in the past few episodes at a minimum. But this past season, we've gotten to know her pretty well. Like they've started showcasing her, and I do feel like they have when it's a big, like, what's his name, Tyrese T-Dog.
T-Dog.
Yeah, like they really started showcasing him when he's about to die. I feel like whenever there's a character
that's a lot,
like an established character, they start to showcase them a little more, not like heavily, but a little more. You get to know them before they. Well,
they did that
off.
with the Doctor last week, a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, they totally did. So you get to know the character a good bit, and then they kill him off. She's important. What's up?
That would be why at first I thought it was Glenn, based on things we've talked about in the past. But that would be an argument against that, would because Glenn was hardly in. Well, he was not in this episode at all, except for the very end. So we haven't really got a lot of development with him recently, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be a point in your favor that would not be Glenn.
Right. Now, wait,
this episode,
when did we find out that Glenn and Maggie were having a baby? Was it this half season, or was it last half season?
Jeez.
I think it was this current half season. So that could be something that they introduced to give this more impact, to give that fake impact that they like to give themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. What we did get in this episode was some development from Abraham, because he was talking about having a baby with Sasha, and we did get some from Eugene, because he had that scene with Abraham. He had, he gave the bullet plans to Rick. So those two things make me believe it might be one of those two.
Well, oh man, let me tell you something. On the Yeti mic, this mute button, lifesaver just now. I was going to blow the microphone up if I didn't push that mute button.
That's good.
But yeah, Abraham.
You don't have to tell the audience about it, but
get some light to the conversation.
Audience.
Yeah, Abraham is a definite candidate, and he's down at the right end of the line for that to be the case.
Right.
Eugene's down towards Carl, though. So I don't think it's going to be Eugene.
You don't think it's him?
Oh, you know what? When they first were told to kneel and everything, did you notice that Rick gave Eugene like a dirty look, like he sold him out?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's what happened, because Eugene was crying like a little bitch, like being old school Eugene. It seemed like.
Yeah, but he was also beat the fuck. He was beat up.
I know. I mean, like, he's not being a bitch. He deserves to cry at this point because he's aware he's going to die and everything. So it's okay. Yeah. He can cry. I'm just saying, like, the look Rick gave him was like, you fucking asshole. Like, so.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. But so I don't think it's Eugene. I think in the furthest in the line that the possibility goes, and that this is in the red zone to where I don't. Abraham is the furthest to the right I would be willing to go, but he's very unlikely to me because of the position of where the pointing happened and everything. I think from Michonne back towards Glenn, I think those are the candidates to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just based on evidence within the episode is the things I was looking at there. Mm-hmm. But my first thought it was Glenn, and I still think it's him.
Well, I do now too.
Do you?
Yeah. Do you want to jump into that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so earlier today it was released that somebody cleaned up the audio from the whole thing, and it turns out that all the shouting and stuff that's going on while he's beating him and saying you're taking it like a champ and stuff like that. Uh-huh. Well, you hear like Maggie scream, "Glenn, no!" And then you hear Glenn like in a like slurred voice go, "Maggie!" Like his jaw's been broken and stuff. You listened to the audio, right?
Yeah, I did.
Now,
go ahead.
It's one of those things to where you're listening to it, and if you're listening, like if somebody says that says Glenn, and you hear it, yeah, you can hear Glenn, but you don't know if that's what they're really saying because it's cleaned up audio.
Right.
So
and they're flashing the words in front of your eyes.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. But that did lead me to kind of believe that it is Glenn a little more than Rosita at this point.
Mm. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much credence to put into that, but like you said, it's if you think the what do they call that? The suggestion, the power of suggestion,
right?
So
yeah, it's like the Aladdin thing where that rumor went around where good teenagers take off their clothes.
Oh, well, yeah. That's real.
Is that real?
No, I'm kidding.
If you were never told it said that, you would never think it said that. Somebody heard that themselves or made that up themselves. Yeah. And now that you know it's there, you can't unhear it.
Exactly. So I don't know how much credence to put in that, but if it helps prove me to be correct on my first instinct, then so be it.
Even without that, man, I'm kind of leaning towards you being right on that. My first.
Well, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's what we were thinking about just based on comics,
Yeah.
So it's not like an earth-shattering prediction by any means.
Yeah. But. Well, I think that's pretty much the recap. You have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. At this point, I would just be complaining.
Right. We're just going on and on. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. Make sure you're please subscribe to the show on iTunes. Rate, review. Also helps us grow. If you want to help the show monetarily, please go to mainstreamgeek.com/donate. Any amount helps. I suggest $1. If you can, maybe $12 for $1 a month. Also, if you go to mainstreamgeek.com/nerdblock or you go to mainstreamgeek.com/shave, you can support the show in that way. I think that's all of the links I have. Brandon, do you have anything you want to put out there?
Well, I was just going to mention that, this is the season finale of Walking Dead, so, if there are other shows that you may want Jason and I to recap, then let us know over social media, and we'll look at it. I think there's a couple coming up that we might already be doing, but we haven't really talked about it completely. But yeah, it's just something to throw out there.
Well, let me throw this out to you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Obviously, Game of Thrones. We want to do that one. I've already talked to Kelly about it, so it's cool.
Okay, you got that straight with her?
Yeah.
Good.
My other suggestion would be Silicon Valley.
Okay.
You ever watch that one?
I've watched it. I have to catch up on it, but I've watched it.
It's great. Also, I really think Preacher would be a good one to do. I've never read the comic. I hear it's great, but I kind of want to watch Preacher without reading the comic so I can go in fresh, and not worry about what's different than the comic, and not have that analytical part of my brain going with it.
Right. Right.
So I think that'd be a good candidate. But if anybody has any other suggestions, get at us at Mainstream Geek on Twitter or Facebook, or email me at jason@mainstreamgeek.com, and we'll take your suggestions under advisement.
Cool.
You have a Twitter or anything you want to put out there, Brandon?
At Scoonnuts with a Z.
All right.
That's me.
We will be back on Thursday with Travis. We didn't have a show last week with Travis because I was getting sick. You can probably still hear my voice. I'm a little sick. So I will see you guys I'll see you on Friday. We're recording on Thursday. Have a good few days. Keep it geeky.